as a person coming from the continent in the Pacific,
Yes.
it is indeed a very concern for us. I have two questions. What is the prophetic voice or the roles of churches in this 21st century? From your view about number one, about the global warming, about climate change.
Yes.
And the other is about the colonization. It's also a political question about the decolonization or self-determination of many of the Pacific countries who are still in the colony stage. Give example in Tahiti, also in West Papua. What are the prophetic voice of church in today's world?
Yes. First question, climate change and what is our prophetic voice? We have issued public statements as churches that address this question. I, as a bishop with a public voice, I have addressed this question many times publicly. And we can see that it has really created change. It is amazing. That one question, I think, is the one question where I would see the action of the churches as the most successful from all questions. Because in Germany, meanwhile, and that has been very different 20 years ago, in Germany, big enterprises, they pay for full-page advertisements in the big national newspapers in which they say that they are the propagators of a sustainable economy. The word sustainability, which is a program word that we have as a churches, we have used for decades. It has now entered the minds of big enterprises. And you can maybe say that those enterprises only want to advertise with it, but they're not serious with it. But even then, I think it is remarkable that they think that by an advertisement with this word, they can win customers. Which means that the consciousness in Germany has radically changed in terms of ecological questions. The German public puts that on a very high rank, what has to do with climate change and ecological reconstruction. So all the parties advertise with promoting ways to an ecological reconstruction. For example, we are now changing our energy system into regenerative ways. We call it energy turn, Energiewende. And the reason is us. Here in Germany, in the United States, in other countries, we have emitted CO2, carbon dioxide, that is responsible for heating up the Earth. Which means that the ice poles, North Pole and South Pole, they melt, the water in the ocean rises, and those islands disappear. Or certain coast areas, they will disappear. So it is irresponsible from a Christian point of view simply to continue as we do it now. And if you look at the distribution of CO2 emission, you understand that there is a justice problem. United States is 18.3 tons of CO2 emission per capita, per head, per person. Actually, South Africa is more than I thought. It's 10 tons per capita, because there's a lot of rich world in South Africa as well. Germany is about 9 tons per capita. The average CO2 emission is 4 tons per capita in the world. The level that would be tolerable for nature would be 2 tons per capita. And Tanzania has 0.2 tons per capita CO2 emission. So you understand that it's not the Tanzanians that need to lower their level of CO2 emission. It's the Germans, it's the Americans, it's the wealthy countries. But at the same time, of course, those countries who aspire to increase wealth, who aspire and who must overcome poverty, those countries should use the technology we have, solar energy for example, in order to prevent the same destructive path that we have taken. Like increasing CO2 emissions so much that in 20, 30 years the Earth will not be able to tolerate it anymore. So I'm elaborating that in such a long way, because that is a very concrete question where I think we as Christians are called to be salt of the earth and light of the world. We as Christians in Germany, in the rich Western countries, we must show new ways of consuming less energy, of consuming less resources, of going into a direction where poor countries, of course, will increase their levels of CO2 emission, but where we go down with our levels. And it has to do with the economy. It is a political question, but it also has to do with theology. It has to do with the fact that we as Christians talk about nature as the creation of God that is entrusted to us. So that is why I think we must be political, coming from a spiritual place, but we must be political, we must be public.